Well, good morning and welcome to the Real Monica Adams Show, brought to you by our friends at Invita Health and Wellness. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we thank all of the community and our sponsors for coming on board and believing in the mission of kindness. That's what we want, right? A better world, giving back, and just being kinder human beings to one another. Understanding that there are people that have real world problems, and when you think, oh, the world's crashing on you, and it's a small little pebble. I talk about pebbles and boulders a lot. There are true boulders in this world. I'm not going to say that what you're going through in life, it doesn't mean anything. It does, but understand that there are so many other issues that are out there, that life is so unbelievably precious, that I want you to remember that, and I want you to surround yourself with good, positive people to pull you out of that darkness that you're feeling. We started the show back on March 1st, but it really was a vision many, many years ago when we started Monica's Motivational Moments in television. And we thought, let's go ahead and take that forward, carry it forward, and turn it into a show so that each and every day when you come to the show, you know that you're going to learn about kindness. You're going to hear and see stories of hope and possibilities. We've had some incredible guests in these blue chairs over the last several months, and it's just going to continue. By the way, if you have a show, a topic that you would like for us to cover, just shoot me an email, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. I have true, beautiful ladies inside and out on my show today. One that I've known for a while, and we'll tell you the story about how we met. And after this, I want you to be able to understand that, wow, what can I do to make a difference in other lives? How can I pay it forward? We're going to tell you more about that. Let me introduce my guests first of all. Angie Kane and Sandy Smith. First of all, thank you for coming in and being in studio with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Let's tell the story, Angie, of how you and I met. Which, because I loved the guts that you had to because you said, I want this story to be told, and it wasn't being told, and so you came and you met me at the gym.
Oh, you want me to go that
Yes,
far back?
I want you to go that far.
So,
Because many times, Angie, I want people to understand that you have to find your voice and that you have
Right.
to believe in something, and you did. You believed that day.
I did. So, I lost my son October 26th of 2021, and I started a foundation, me and his stepfather, John Kane, to help families of children with disabilities. My son had a very rare genetic disorder, and he was 100% care. We were going to have our first event. It was going to be a pub crawl, and this was a year ago in June. And I had said to some of my board members, I really need to get on the news. And that's not something I like to do. I don't like to public speak, but I said, I'm determined to do this. So I'm at the gym one day, Lifetime Fitness, and I'm stretching. And to the left of me, I see who I think is Monica Adams. And I called one of my friends. I said, I think she's stretching, but I don't want to.
She's stretching next to me.
I don't want to interrupt her, but I want to tell her that this is a foundation, and I want to get our name out there. And I went up to her, and obviously you were the sweetest person, and literally called me the next week, and then the rest is
It's
history.
Well, what happened? So Angie, she came up to me and she just said hi, and she said, I love watching you on TV, love what you do, love the positivity, and saw the kindness. Right? Very easy in our business. There are a lot of egos.
Yes.
Very easily it could have been.
Yes.
Yep. Thanks. Appreciate it.
And I had one
be
of
on
those.
You. I know you did, and that's well. And she had been trying to get the story out there, and so when she told me the story, I said, "Let's do it." And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Absolutely. Give me your." Or shoot me an email.
Yeah.
And she did. I responded back the very next day, and we turned it into a really beautiful story. And I came into her home, told the story of her son, and we have kept in touch ever since. That's what I want you to understand is Angie believed. I think I see kindness in a human being. Again, all of you try to show more kindness to each other. Say hi, eye to eye contact, right? And then just listen to the story, because she had a story to tell, and I was blessed to be able to have the camera and the microphone to tell the story. And that's what I truly believe is the blessing. Sandy, you have been friends for how long? How long have you known each other?
Oh, God. We go back to when
Colton and Sarah, my daughter, was in school together.
Okay, they were in school together.
Yeah, like first first grade, I think Sarah was.
Yeah, at Southview.
Right.
Right? And
Colton was always like a year ahead of Sarah, so
yeah.
Angie was kind of my mentor through the milestones of special needsness. She would, things would come along like that I would need to, well, like when I first applied for the waiver.
Yeah.
And Angie already had the waiver, so she helped me, she showed me her paperwork and how to do it. When Colton turned 21, I got to sit in on her transition meeting before my transition meeting, so I could see,
Right.
How all that works.
Well,
So
that's the
it
thing.
was like,
We need to learn from others that have been there already, right? And it's like, how am I ever going to get through this? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We just kind of gave you the introduction of how she and I first met, how we know each other. But we're going to talk about Colton, we're going to talk about Sarah, and we're going to talk about families, parents, as they go through the struggles of living life with a child with special needs. So let's tell their stories. So Angie, we'll start with you. So tell us about Colton.
So Colton was born in 2000, and I had perfect pregnancy. It was my first baby, and I knew pretty much immediately something was off, because at that time, all of my friends were having babies, and they were holding their head, and they were drinking out of a bottle. Colton didn't do that. So when he was 3 months, I was able to contact a pediatric neurologist, because my pediatrician at the time looked at him at 3 months and said, I don't know. I remember the day, everything. I even know what Colton had on. It's like certain things in your mind you can remember, but don't ask me what I did yesterday, because I have no idea. But so he immediately said, I need you to take Colton down to Children's. And he said, I'm going to have a neurologist there waiting for you. Well, come to find out, he wanted Colton to come back that following Monday to admit him, because Colton, he knew something wasn't, the neurologist knew, but he couldn't put his finger on it. So we came back that following Monday, they did an MRI, they did a spinal tap, nothing showed. So basically this child, my child was definitely had, very floppy, didn't open his eyes, cried 90% of the day. So me and his father said, where do we go now? And there was a pediatric neurologist in New York. Keep in mind, this was right after 9/11. So we hopped on a plane and went to see Dr. DeVivo, who was a world-renowned pediatric neurologist. And he saw him, and he also didn't know. Well, we did a spinal tap, a skin biopsy, and they sent this all over the world and watched the cells grow. Well, it showed nothing again. So here's this child, our child, who was not hitting any milestones, because now we're going on 4 and 5 months. So to make a very long story short, when he was, and as he got progressively older, when he was a year, okay, he wasn't eating, so we had to get a G button put in, okay, so he could get his medications. We also realized he had seizures. He had a movement disorder, so pretty much across the board, unable to walk, talk, and he was also visually impaired. So definitely on the higher end of disabilities, very medically fragile. So at age 11, when the Geno Project was mapped out, they were able to figure out that it was gene 863 that was defected. So that's like a needle in a haystack.
Sure.
Okay, that means nothing. That doesn't mean there's a name for what he has. It just means this happened. They couldn't even tell me if I carried it, if his dad, John, carried it. So we had to go from there. And then at that time, we adopted our daughter from Russia, which was wonderful. But I didn't even go on to have more kids because,
Well, you're devastated.
yeah, I was devastated.
And you don't know, I mean, 863. I mean, what goes through your mind at that point? Because you're trying to find an answer.
Oh my God. I knew because even at age 11, he wasn't hitting milestones, okay? He was unable to even hold his head. So we had to have a special wheelchair that would hold his head up. And keep in mind, as he's getting older, he's getting bigger, okay? So when they're 25 pounds, you can lift them, okay? But now he was getting 100 pounds. And then moving on to where, as he got older, he was 160 pounds, 5'10", okay? So bigger than me. So at that time, I was able to get at a young age, I was able to get the Sarah Lopez waiver, which put him on Medicaid, but then his father also had United Healthcare. So we had two forms of insurance. So we had the best that we could possibly get for him.
Sure.
I was able to get nursing care, but back then it was a little easier than it is now after the pandemic and all that. But it was tough because, he had to be assisted in everything, and he could not be left alone.
Right.
So it progressively got harder as he grew.
And that's the whole thing that we want to talk about today, because I think this is what people don't understand is 24-hour care. And how do you do that? I mean, there are people who think, well, that's impossible. I don't have the money. I don't have the means. What am I going to do? We'll tell that story. We're going to tell Sarah's story next. We're going to bring it all together. We've got all these beautiful things of Colton's cause. There's an event coming up that we want you to get to. But I really want the message of today's show for you. If you know someone that is a parent, that is a grandparent, that is a sibling, that is the child, understand they might need some help. I have a friend who said, Monica, sometimes I would just love for a friend to call and say, did you just want to break for about an hour? You just want to go take a walk? And she's like, sometimes people say, is there anything I can do? She goes, you don't want to ask. So you wish they would just say, I'm coming over. She said, that's a good friend. I'm coming over. We're going to talk about all that. Those are the things I want you to understand. We'll have more with both Angie and Sandy. And we're talking about, again, parents, but it's multiple levels of families and friends with special needs. More with the two ladies right here in my blue chair when we return. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com. Welcome back. It is the Real Monica Adams Show, and we are talking with Sandy Smith and Angie Kane today and their children, Colton and Sarah. And for all of you, the show is being done about kindness, about helping. What can we do? This is families living with a child with special needs and the difficulty of it all, but the beauty and what they bring, even if it's a short time of their life. We were just telling a little bit of Colton's story, and we'll come back with Angie. But Sandy Smith is also with us. So let's hear about Sarah. Tell me about Sarah. I want to know her story.
Sure. Well, she was born on her due date, no complications, everything was fine. We had no clue that she had any kind of an issue. When she was 5 months old, she had her first seizure, which was what they call a status seizure. I believe the indication is anything over 20 minutes long is a status seizure. She went on to have 24 of those status seizures in her early childhood up until age 3, and each of those, that type of seizure has a 10% mortality rate. So it was a very scary time. We were in ambulances a lot those first 3 years. Right before she turned 3 years old, she had a seizure that lasted 5 hours, and that caused a global brain injury. So prior to that, she was somewhat delayed in her gross motor and her speech, but after that, she no longer walked or talked, and also got a G button like Colton, and became like a total care person that needed help with every single thing in her life. So we found out when she was 6.5 years old. Actually, I was constantly surfing the internet trying to figure out, what this was, because like Angie, we didn't know. We didn't know what it was. And she had idiopathic seizures, which means of unknown origin. So that's what we knew for all those years. And I kept looking and looking and reading, and I came across this syndrome called Dravet syndrome. And it had like a timeline of what happens, like when the first seizure occurs, when the milestones start falling behind, all these things. And I'm looking at this criteria going, check, check, check. Like, oh my gosh, so I contacted her neurologist and I said, do you think she maybe has this? And her neurologist at the time, we had a previous neurologist who had just contacted our current neurologist with the same question. Do you think Sarah maybe has Dravet syndrome? It was really weird because he had just sent her an email like within a week of my contacting her.
Wow, eerie.
It was very strange. And so she had the genetic testing and she does have Dravet syndrome, which is a very severe and rare childhood epilepsy. And she did not inherit it. Her dad and I don't have any issues with the SCN1A gene. See, we both know our genome things now. But Sarah has extra components to that gene. So it causes the gene not to function properly. So
how eerie that you are looking at all of these things, which, by the way, we always say sometimes it's not good for people to get on and WebMD and their mind goes everywhere and you start getting anxious. But here you are actually being, as a parent, a parental advocate from the health standpoint to say, well, wait a minute, maybe we should look into this. Do you feel like that was a God wink?
I think so. I think it was a little divine intervention. And, when you don't know what it is, it's like, well, there was that one time when I picked up her pumpkin seat and she fell out. That's probably it. It was probably me. Or it was that Diet Coke I drank when I was pregnant. Or, you think of all those crazy things. But then it was kind of a relief to know what it was, because then you have something to go on and, what some possible treatments are. And
because otherwise, I'm sure both of you ladies, you go through, as you just said, a blame game. Is it my fault? Is it my husband's? Where's it coming from? And you go through a lot of anger and depression. I'm sure you both have walked those paths, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
It's hard to find your way out of the darkness. What do you do? Because I spoke recently at a caregivers conference and how important it is for you to take care of yourself first and foremost. I bet you that's something that you don't do.
Self-care is one of those topics with special needs parents, because usually you hear that, and all the special needs parents I know that hear that, they go, yeah, self-care, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sure. Because there's no way. You don't have time. You don't have the ability. You can't do it. But I've started walking as much as I can, like even taking a walk a day, and that really helps a lot. But it's also kind of a mindset, like it's okay to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Also, it's a mindset thing.
I spoke with a lot of parents, well, in my career in general. I've done a lot of stories, and I'm so blessed to be able to tell Colton's story. But even the comment that you just made, it's impossible to take, but it's not. There is a possibility of, even if it's 5 minutes of a meditation to clear the mind, we were talking about family and friends, to get out of your own way to say, hey, I know Sandy and Angie are going through this. Maybe I don't call and say, can I help? Because you're not going to ask for it. That's one thing I was told by one parent. And she said, no, what I actually want is for a family member or a very dear friend to just say, I'm coming over and I'm going to sit with Sarah or Colton or fill in the blank, right? Fill in their names and then let that happen, to be able to give yourself some grace. To be able to even go for a walk like that Sandy's talking about. Sarah's how old?
She's 22.
She's 22. So Sarah's with us. Colton is not. Mm-hmm. Colton was what age when you lost him?
21.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And, we're coming up on the 2-year on October 26th. And some days it seems like it's been just days, but then there's times where it seems like years and years. And, that's one reason why I immediately started. So he passed in October of 2021. In December, me and his stepfather, John Kane, we were able to start this Colton's Cause, because I had spent 21 years advocating for him. And that's kind of all I knew. I got out of the workforce, and I want to make a point in saying I was lucky I did not have to work.
Right.
Okay. There are many parents like Sandy that are working and doing this. Okay. I had it easy compared to them.
Well, actually, Angie, and I appreciate you saying, well, neither one of you had it easy, right? So I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but understand what you've gone through, both of you, all of you that go through this. She did say that, though, in the story that I did with you a couple years back. It was you saying, hey, understand, I was able to not have to
Yeah.
work, but that is not the case with a lot of parents.
No.
So then what do you do? Well, actually, I'll ask you. So then what do you do?
Well, I worked at home for my husband's company for years, just as much as I could around her care. I mean, there are years we have had more caregivers. There's years where we really didn't have any. And as a person who's now in their 60s, it's really a thing where you, for like all those years, couldn't really work. I really didn't pay that much into Social Security because I really couldn't work full time. So now here I am. I mean,
Right.
it's like you're an unpaid caregiver for decades, and that has a lot of implications for your life.
Well, and a lot of times, Sandy, when people
course.
hear about a caregiver, their mind immediately normally goes to, oh, you're taking care of a parent. No, I'm taking care of my child.
Right.
I didn't expect this to happen. And
Exactly.
we talk a lot about the 100 Days to Freedom of anger and resentment and fear and shame and all those things. And I'm sure, even though in your mind you probably go, oh, why do these feelings come in? Well, you're a human being. You also believe that you have a blessing of a child, excuse me, and you hope always, right? When someone says, oh my gosh, oh, they're delivering. Is the baby healthy? Is the mama healthy? And that's all you ever want is for a healthy child. And then you find out, well, no, there's something wrong. And so you go through. How do you go through the struggles? How do you take care of yourself, the unit? I mean, I've heard stories and stories of couples that split up because one cannot handle it. They walk away. The person is left with now taking care of, and you're talking about 24-hour care all on your own. These are things that fortunately you did not go through, the split up aspect. But people just, do you think people come and go, I don't know what to do. It's so foreign to me. I'm scared. What should I say? Yes.
Definitely. I mean, it's people are not familiar with the level of disability that Colton and Sarah had, and they aren't sure what to do. I mean, it's and it was foreign to me before Sarah came along. It's it is scary because you're afraid you're going to do something wrong, or
Sure.
So.
Well, and how important is it to have, and you mentioned it earlier, Sandy, of having someone like Angie to say, okay, this is what you do. Oh, I've already done this waiver. Here's the help. Having support.
Extremely important.
Support
Extremely
groups.
important.
Talk about that.
So, because I lived it, I don't want to say Sandy knows a lot, and she is such an advocate and is very involved. So I've been out of it in that aspect for 2 years, but there were even times where there were support groups, but here's the problem: you can't find someone to watch your child.
To get to it.
Right.
And Sandy brought up a point the other day. So when you have a baby, a newborn, okay, they say sleep when the baby sleeps. Okay, now this is the first year of life.
Right.
So go ahead and say
just-
what you
just-
said to me yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, just the concept that the self-care thing is part of that. So when you have a newborn and they you want to prioritize the mom getting sleep and all that, and and try not to be 24-hour vigilant with a newborn, and for the mom's own stress. And it's just like, well, when you have a child that you have to be 24-hour vigilant, you have to be. I mean, don't let every little noise the baby makes at night wake you up. Well, I have to do that because it could be a seizure. It could be she needs suctioning. And it's not just infancy, it's her whole life.
Her whole
I
life.
mean, that's
So what
it's
do you
kind
do, Sandy? That's
what
what
do I
everybody.
do?
That's what everybody wants to know.
Day by day, really. I mean, I do, try to prioritize my health and my mental health and my physical health. I do have my own small business with work that I really do love to do. I mean, that's a huge outlet for me. And just trying to, stay in contact with people. And I love my daughter to pieces. I mean, I do anything
course.
for her,
Of course.
So sometimes I just have to refocus on that. It's just like, yeah, this is really hard, but gosh, she can't do this herself, and I love her. So, I mean,
Who helps
there
you?
you go. Well, we do have some nurses through, and pretty much the nurses
Wow.
that help. So,
And we've been taking pictures, taking a look at pictures of Sarah and that smile. I mean, that
yes.
right there, right, Sandy? So tell us,
Yeah,
when you
that's-
look at these pictures.
and that's her little brother, who's now bigger than her.
Yes.
He's in high school. He's a senior in high school, and he loves her very much.
Oh,
And,
look at that.
Look at the
yeah.
smiles.
Yep. Well, and I have to say, Sarah has taught me a lot over her years, and that the things that are important to Sarah are connection and love, and she loves music. She loves to be held. It's like, what is more important than that as a human? Right. I mean, she knows the things that are important as a human, and the things that aren't important to her really aren't important, So it's, I mean, really, in the big picture.
I was just going to say, when it comes into the big picture, who's this with Sarah?
That is one of her nurses and one of her therapists.
So you just said it, and I think that's the thing that people need to hear. That is an incredible message in this show, the big picture of life, right? Mm-hmm. So I mentioned earlier, Sandy, the pebbles and boulders, and that there really are pebbles in life. It's like, oh, this happened, this person made me mad. Okay, that's not what we're talking. We're talking about this boulder that comes crashing down on these two ladies, that you have a child and you're hoping that the child's healthy, and then you are told that the boy and the girl are not, and then it's this lifelong. Well, in your mind, well, when are they going to be better? They're not. This is life. And so I mentioned earlier, so you're talking about John, who I actually have met, wonderful man, is the stepfather.
John Kane.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But his actual father.
Yes.
What role did he play during all of this in him until he was 21?
Well, we did get divorced when Colton was 5 and Ava was 4. But yeah, he had him every other weekend. Okay. So, yeah. But
that's not the reason for the divorce, was it? But did it play a part in it at all? Because those are the stories that I've told in the past.
Yeah. It was a variety of things.
Okay. Because a lot of times that's it. So people, and then they come back and think, wow, I was young, I couldn't handle it at the time. And then they live with the regret of, did I walk away from something? Holy cow, I walked away from her when she needed help.
Right.
There's a lot of those stories out there. And then so that just escalates what you're going through.
Yeah, and 70% of marriages will end in divorce if they have a special needs child. I mean, that's a fact. So it's not an easy life, okay? Because there are times, like in my situation, my husband worked and I stayed home. But then I'm, okay, when are you coming home? Because it's been a really long day type thing. And it causes stress.
Right.
It really does. It adds to just normal marital everyday life.
Yes. And there isn't a break, because we're talking about 24-hour care. There is no downtime, as Sandy was just mentioning. So again, Sandy Smith, Angie Kane, we're going to talk more about the lives of Colton and Sarah, Colton's cause and how that launched within the last couple of years. You've had some events already that the public has come out for, but there's an event coming up that we want you to know about, that we want you to get to. And again, I just want you to understand the kindness that you need to show to people who do have a special needs child, and the things that they need, and the aha moments maybe in life of, maybe today you pick up the phone and say, oh my gosh, you know what? I saw this really powerful show today, and here's how I want to help. That's what I want this story to be about today. So we'll have more with both Angie and Sandy when we return.
It's the icing on the cake.
The final brush stroke.
The finishing touches make all the difference in your home, too.
Have fun and get started at carolhouse.com/room planner.
With thousands of accessories in our 3.5-acre showrooms.
Get your picture perfect room and the lowest prices in the country at Carol House.
Because you like nice things.
You know, of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com, 314-567-5585. Welcome back. We are talking with Angie Kane and Sandy Smith. You're tuned in to the Real Monica Adams Show, and we so thank you for the blessings. Again, remember, when you watch these shows, whatever feeling you get, I want you to share that. Please follow the show on a regular basis, and then when you see these stories, go ahead and share to your family, your friends, so that we can get this far-reaching. That's what this show is all about. So Angie and Sandy, first of all, thank you again for telling the story. We've been telling the story about Colton and Sarah. You and I had talked, Angie, when we told Colton's story when I was in television, and one of the things that you had mentioned that we wanted to go into next is as you go through that 24-hour care and you've got nurses coming in, hopefully family and friends helping out, there's a certain age that they get to, and all of a sudden it's, well, what kind of coverage, what kind of care is there? So let's talk about what happens when they turn 21.
So let me start by saying they are able to go to special school. So Colton went to Southview, okay? So when he turned 21, okay, so school was cut off because he graduated. So after that period, okay, where most children are going to college, these young adults, okay, they need medical care. So there are what's called day programs, okay, in St. Louis, and there's very few.
Right.
But the issue we ran into, because Colton was so medical, was they would not accept him.
Why?
So, I'm sorry.
Why?
Because he had a suction machine, he had a G button, okay? He was 100% care. So I called every single day program in St. Louis, and they denied him, every single one. So that leaves Colton, okay, at the age of 21, where most kids are going off to college at 19, 20, or whatever. His only option was to stay home, okay? So then I didn't even have him at school where he would get his therapies, OT, PT, speech. He's dropped, okay? There are a lot of organizations that at the age of 21, they drop these children, okay? So what do we do?
Right.
Excuse me, what do? We keep them at home, okay? And then we have to find care to assist us, whether it be aides, nurses. And that's where we're left. That's where we're left.
And so there's a lot of people that are saying, I'm glad she just said that, because there's a lot of people that are, oh, there's day programs out there. Oh, well, couldn't you have done this and that? And she's literally telling us no, which is very unfortunate. And that's the thing that really kind of hurt my heart of, well, wait a minute, but I thought maybe this organization would, or this would have, this would have. So you just mentioned, so obviously Sarah was past the age of 21. There's a connection of what Colton's cause was able to do for you.
Right. So yes, when Sarah turned 21, and just to mention this, there's a lot more children that are medically complex that are surviving into adulthood now. But there really aren't systems in place because they weren't here 10 years ago, but now they are. And Sarah was receiving therapy through a variety program. But when she aged out, but we really wanted to continue the therapy. So Colton's Cause stepped in and provided that for her.
So why do you think, let's get into the government aspect of it. Why do you think? Do you think that they have the belief that they wouldn't make it past a certain age? You have to scratch your head.
Right, you do have to scratch your head, but I maybe it's just that they didn't previously, and we haven't caught up, policy-wise for all these people that are now in their 20s and beyond,
Well, something needs to be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, that hopefully something from this can make you start getting any connections that you have to say, these families need this. So what were you able to do with well, first of all, let's go back. So Colton's Cause, the organization, was started right after he passed?
Yes. So in December of 2021, we started Colton's Cause. And what we do is we raise money for children and families with disabilities. So whether a family needs a lift in a van, okay, or a modification to a bathroom, a roll-in shower, or a special piece of equipment so the child doesn't have to always stay in their wheelchair, or therapy at home, because as they get older, 21, they age out of all these other programs. So then insurance also doesn't cover a lot of these programs.
Right.
So that's where Colton's Cause comes in and says, wait a minute, Sarah still needs therapy. Okay, just because she turned 21, she still needs it. So we were able to give little Sarah. I always call her little Sarah.
She's pretty little. She's only like 88 pounds.
88 pounds.
Yeah. We gave a year of therapy. So therapists can come into Sandy's home and treat her because she still needs therapy,
Right.
OT,
It's
and
quality
PT.
of life. It's quality of life for
Well,
her. It really is.
so, and what I
Yeah.
was going to say is, as you're saying that, it's just, hello, they're 21, 22, 23. We hope they have many, many years. Don't forget about them. You are
Yes.
giving, I just got chill. You are giving Angie and Sandy, Colton's cause, Colton, giving back, continuing. I mean, that's got to make you feel incredible that you hate that your son is not here anymore, but his legacy, his life is allowing this, is giving hope and possibility to those that evidently, until they change these laws and being able to find a place for them to be taken care of, that you're giving them that possibility. You're giving them the, hey, we haven't forgotten about you.
Yes.
Right? So you mentioned that you were able to pay for a year of therapy. What something like that cost?
It's about $2,900.
Okay.
And that's once a week,
Once a week.
an hour.
Wow.
So that's
That's why you have
That's a
to.
lot.
Well,
I
exactly.
mean-
And that's why your organization, and I'm hoping that others can step forward to be able to help out. You've had some events already, but you
Yes.
have one coming up. Tell us about
do.
this.
So this event is more for the children, okay? Because we've had a golf tournament in June, and we've had a lot of success with all of them. This one I wanted to do to just let the kids come, and we hired a band, Trixie Delight, and they're playing, and we're going to have it catered by Joey Bacardi's, and we're just wanting people to come out and have a good time because we feel like it's one thing to talk about these children, it's another thing to see them.
Yes.
And a lot of these children, okay, I just asked Sandy the other day, can you and Sarah come? Well, guess what? She doesn't know if she has a nurse.
Right?
Okay, because some of these children can't even go out because this is an evening event.
Right.
So that is the struggle, okay? And at a lot of our events, we haven't had a lot of children because they can't find help or they're too medically fragile. So that's what we're doing this for, and something needs to change. It's awful.
And you are right that when we are able to look in the eyes of those that need, that suddenly that's when people start to go into their purses, into their wallets, and say, "Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
I see who I'm giving it back to." But you can't even get them there, right? It's the
No.
simplest things in
Very
life
true.
that we take for granted. Yeah, that's the hard part. So where is this being held again?
So we're having it at Crafty Chameleon,
Okay.
which is in Ellisville, and we're renting a massive tent because it's Friday the 13th, and it could be snowing or it could be
That's
80. So I was not going to be stressed about that.
Right.
So it's all covered, so we can accommodate all the disabled children, and it's just going to be a wonderful event. We're just going to have fun and let the kids, it's basically a fall festival type thing. So
And what time?
it starts at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Trixie Delight will start at 8 and they'll play till 11
Okay.
p.m. And yeah, it's just going to be a great event. And we'll also raise some money, but
Did you have like silent auctions, live auction,
so
anything
we're
like that?
only doing like 3
Silent
like
or live?
silent
Okay.
auctions. All of our events, we've had Reed Lowe be our MC,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done an amazing job with our live auctions. But we feel we want to take a break from that and kind of just focus on celebrating
Yes.
our foundation, coming up on 2 years. And so that's kind of what this one's about.
So again, and we'll give you all the information again at the very, very end of how you can give back. But they can also, if they just want to know more about your organization, what's the best website for them to go, or Facebook, et cetera?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, and it's Colton's Cause. And you can go to our website, coltonscause.org, and you can see all the events we've had, and you'll see a lot of children on there, and it's just a great way to kind of see what these families are going through. Because, like I said before, it's one thing for Sandy and I to talk about this. It's another to see these children.
Yes.
Okay, this is life for them.
Well, absolutely. And I know you and I had talked about this. So years and years and years ago, I was the development director for a home for profoundly disabled children and adults. And so immediately I was getting in touch with Angie saying, oh, well, I think maybe they will be able to do the daycare. And it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you have that hope of there are wonderful organizations that are out there, Ponybird, Next Step.
Yes.
But they weren't able to take Colton, right?
No, and the transportation is another bit of that, because you have to transport the child.
Right.
And
Because we're talking daycare
Yeah.
here. Well, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing. So in the minds of mothers and fathers, you have to make a decision of, and it's hard when you're having to work, right? As Angie's saying that she felt blessed that she didn't have to, but that's
Yeah.
not the case, I would say, with a high percentage.
Absolutely.
Right? So then it
Yeah.
becomes, well, what do I do? Having to make the decision to possibly put the child in a home. Yeah, I know that's where I wanted to go next. That decision in your mind is, I'm never going to do that?
You know, first of all, well, and I do work from home. I have my own little business. That's what I'm doing right now, part time though. You know, pretty much. Well, it might be full time at this point, but I haven't found a place I could even place her. Honestly, I mean, I think Ponybird might be the only one I know of that might be able to handle her care. I don't really have a plan, which is in the back of my mind constantly. Like, what if I'm not able to do this anymore? I don't have a plan. I don't have one. At this point, my plan is to, you know, outlive her and keep
Yes.
doing it. You know, which is a bad plan, and I know that. I need to figure that out.
Well,
but
that's
what I
because you
have
don't want to
right
be
now.
faced with that decision.
Right,
I mean,
right.
emotionally, what do you go through in your mind to think that that's something you would have to do?
Right. Yeah.
That's got to be one of the most difficult decisions. Because as a parent, you always want to be the one that's there. And most parents who have healthy children, it's like, great, go off to college.
Right.
Right? No. This is life. This is how
Yeah.
life is 24/7. And there's some parents that it depends on, as obviously the age that they're getting to, they come to a point and say, I don't know physically, not just
Right.
mentally and spiritually, but physically, I don't know that I can take care of them. And then it's the expense of all the things to be able to move them around. I mean, these are the levels that I want you to all to understand. It's things that we take for granted as able-bodied humans, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the aha moment that I want everybody to understand. I mean, I can see it in both of your faces. It's like, yes. But it's, so what? I said this earlier, but for those that maybe are just tuning in, what can you say, and we'll ask both of you the same question, to your family and friends, if Colton was still here, but when he was, let's just put it that way. Let's go back to the years that he was. So I'll ask you, what do you wish your friends and family would have done to help a little bit? And I'll ask you, what do you want since she's still here?
You know, that's a tough question, because even if my friends were to say, I'll come over, you leave, they're unable to do it, okay? Because medically he was so fragile, and that is pretty scary to say.
To put it in the hands of someone else.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't want to put them in that situation. It's the nursing and
Well, I was going to say, well,
see.
what if a nurse was there, a friend or a family member comes over, knows that a nurse is there, but just wants you to have a mental health break?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
But do you agree, as my friend, I'm sure she'll watch this, as my friend would say, don't ask the parent, because they're going to say, oh no, I'm fine. Offer. Just as she
do
said,
it.
just do.
Just show up at the door.
There you go.
Just
Do you
say, "I'm
agree?
here."
Oh yeah, I agree, and I also agree with Angie. I remember my dad is 94 now, and so I'm kind of responsible for part of his care too. My sister and I take turns, you know, doing things for him.
So you're a double caregiver.
Yeah,
Yes,
the sandwich thing, you know. I remember leaving Sarah with him one time, just for a short period of time, and I don't know what happened. She was gagging or choking or whatever, and he just told me when I got back, don't ever put me in this situation again, you know, because it was just like he was so scared, and that's understandable. I mean, it's not your typical
No.
babysitting or, you know, sitting with someone
Right.
thing. So yeah, and I don't know that. I mean, I do have a couple of friends that are nurses. I think they'd feel okay, but
Please reach out to her. But maybe it's the other aspect of maybe just come over and sit with
Yeah.
and listen and
Oh,
actually
sure.
listen.
Right.
It's not
Yes.
about you. You're going over there because you genuinely care about these people. So go over there and just sit with them and listen. And if they have to go and take care and then come back to you, it's just having a presence of a person who loves you.
I think that's the most important. You know, more than doing the direct care of our kids, it's just having people that understand. Just having, you know, an outlet of, hey, someone will listen when you say, hey, this is really hard and this is really what it is, and that they'll listen and understand. That's huge.
And one
That's
thing
what-
I would say too, our friends, they have normal developing children. And one thing that was always, and they didn't do this on purpose, and I don't know if you find this, Sandy, too, but the problems that they would complain about with their children, I would say in my mind, and none of them did it on purpose.
Sure.
Okay? This was their life, and it's all relevant. But I would say to myself when, say, someone would complain, oh, my son, he didn't call me back from school. I would say to myself, wow, I wish I had those problems.
I'm sure that's what you would say. Absolutely. Well, and that's it. I want you all to hear what she just said. It's the simple things, and that's what I'm talking about. When I mentioned earlier the pebbles and boulders, you
Yeah.
would love to have had
Oh, my
that
God.
pebble of, okay, the kid's not talking to you right now. I'd love for my child to be able to speak,
Yeah, exactly.
right? You agree with that?
Amen.
And they don't do it on purpose.
No, I know.
That's their life.
Yeah, but you remember how many times you watch the show, I know, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I say get out of your own way. Get out of your
Yes.
own way and maybe clear your mind a little bit more. Understand, wow, there are much worse problems. I always try not to say that what you're going through is not something. It is,
Right.
but maybe you'll allow yourself to understand that you're blessed and there are much bigger things to be aware
Absolutely.
of. That's the message of the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, again, I love what Colton is doing. I wish I would have been able to meet Colton. I feel I know him a little bit through being able to be blessed to tell your story. And thank you, by the way,
Yes.
for
Of course.
asking, because a lot of times that's really all that we need. And I know you ladies, maybe sometimes pride comes into play, or I don't want to bother people. But I'm hoping that more of you, when you really know that you can trust and love someone, that you say, no, I'm going to ask. Look, if you really,
Yeah.
otherwise it's, they're not really friends, because to me,
Right.
I would do anything for the people who are closest to me, or that are in my
Yes.
circle, that I feel blessed to be a part of their life, and vice versa, that you would say, I'm just gonna do this. And that's when you know you have really good friends.
Absolutely.
Because they will just show up. And the whole thing of, oh, my house doesn't, well, who cares what the house looks like?
Yeah.
Right? I'm just here to share time with
Absolutely.
you. That's the true friend.
Yes.
And that's what they need here. So Colton is giving back, and he will continue to give back. Where do you see Colton's cause going? What ideally, what do you want him to be able to do?
Well, I want to just keep going and going, of course. We are now having 2 events a year, but I would like to partner with another nonprofit to make this bigger. Because, of course, we're doing events and we're raising money and all that, but as the years pass, the needs of these children they're still going to be there. So that is my goal, is to partner with another organization so we can make this even bigger.
Perfect. So organizations, reach out. Oh, so if somebody's listening and going, oh, well, maybe I want to broach that subject and talk with her, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
They can call me on my cell, or they can reach out to me on my website.
So just go to coltonscause.org. Your contact information's
Yeah,
on there.
my contact information's all on there.
So since he passed in December of 21, and doing these events, you've had people, I'm sure, just like Sandy, come back and I know thank you and thank him. How many lives have you felt that you've been able to touch in these last couple of years?
We did a tally just this weekend. We have helped over 26 families.
Really?
Yes.
Way to go.
So, and
Way to go,
whether,
Colton.
whether that be therapy, a lift for a van, a ramp. So we've doubled from our first year, and it's just getting bigger. It's kind of getting bigger than me. That's why I
That's why you need a
mentioned
partner.
I need a partner, because it is getting big, and that's exactly what I want it to be. But yes, we're helping more. We've raised over 150,000
Wow.
in just almost 2 years.
All because you had a dream. And that's really it. I mean, a lot of the people that we bring on the show is all because there was a vision where very easily, Angie and Sandy, it could have been, I lost my son. It's not fair, right? You go through all those emotions,
yeah.
and then you're just going to sit with that. And instead, you didn't. You instead turned it and
Yeah.
thought, I hate that he's not with us anymore, but I know people are still going through this.
Yes.
What can I do? You had a belief that you could do something. He put that in you. Do you feel, does he talk with you?
I feel him all the time, all the time. Different signs, different, and I'm glad because it, especially on the days where I'm like, oh, this is a bad day, and he'll give me a sign. And I know he is looking down and saying, Mommy, keep going.
Oh.
On the days that I don't want to and I'm sad, I'm in a bad mood, I say, you know what? I've got an angel up there and he wants me to keep going. And that's kind of what gets me through my hard days.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This-
and I wanted you to say that because you said that to me during this story that I was able to tell, and I could feel it when I came into your home and just walking into his room and then taking the doing the video and taking the pictures. Like I could just feel his presence, and it was
Yeah.
like he is absolutely guiding her to this mission, and
Yes.
knowing that you're not slowing down anytime soon, but you need help. That it can't just be one person. We know any organization that gets huge and is able to make the impacts, it can't be just done with one person or two people. It is a team. It's an effort. Volunteerisms, all those things to help out. Sandy, what does it mean to you for what Colton's being able to do for you and for other families?
I was hoping this would come up because I've been in the hospital so many times with Sarah. I've been around so many families that have had very tragic things happen. And it seems like it goes one of two ways. People either get very depressed and distraught and don't really move out of that. And then there's people who way on the other end do something like Angie did, who takes this and makes it into something beautiful to help other people. And I'm so proud of her. And I just think, we're all very grateful for the help, but I think the example of her taking this and turning it into what she has is just beautiful. So
You are both two beautiful human beings. And again, you're just looking at some pictures of just some of the things that are needed. And those lifts, everything. I've been
Yes.
around this, again, having been with Ponybird and doing these stories.
Exactly.
I know that's
Yeah.
not cheap.
No, it's not.
And I know that sometimes people are just maxed out when it comes to having any kind of care or insurance or anything. And suddenly it's, well, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to pay bills. Well, wait a minute. I can't work. I can't leave their side. I mean, it's such a conundrum of what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for this? All those things that go through.
Yeah.
I'm going to stress to you, though, you have to take care of you.
yes, ma'am.
I tell her
And I
that
agree.
often.
I totally agree.
Right.
I tell her
Yeah.
that often.
But I understand it's very easy then for you to come back and go, but how? It's
Yeah.
just small things, even when you have, and I'm going to tell you the importance of 5 minutes. You understand that. She'd love to have 5 minutes back with Colton. It's the seconds
Yes.
that pass by that we appreciate the seconds more. For you, it is, okay, 5 minutes. And I'm hoping that all of you get the power of the show of what you can do. And for you and for all of you that are caregivers, that are mothers, that are fathers, that are siblings, that you have to take care of yourself. We didn't even talk about that. Let's talk about, so your son, the level of what they go through, right? Because that is one of the things that my friend had told me. And she's like, I always wonder, how does my other child feel? Because they want to have a normal life. That's actually, I'm glad that just came up. It's almost a God wink of evidently that was put into my head to say, because she's always worried about him. Well, I want him to have a normal life, but he didn't sign up for this. And I said, well, he's part of the family. What would you say to that?
It's a mixed bag for them. I think he missed out on a lot of things because I couldn't make it happen because I just couldn't go, but we tried to do as much as we could and make it as normal as we could. And I think he is just such a compassionate individual, very caring. And I think he has benefited in some ways from growing up as Sarah's brother, so. I mean, he missed out, but I think he also, sorry about that. He missed out, but he also, benefited in being around someone like Sarah. You can't be unchanged by that.
Right.
So,
No.
yeah.
Well, and I would
No.
think that even though they don't, communicate the way we would hope that they'd be able to communicate because they have the special needs, they still show and provide the love.
Oh,
And
very
so
much so.
as a sibling, you're still in love with your brother or sister.
Right.
And it's still, and hopefully, if you're kind, that you realize that mom and dad need help, the other siblings need help, that you all come together as a unit. Let me give all the information again because I want you to be able to help Colton's cause to be able to pay it forward so that Colton can continue to do the beautiful work that he's doing from heaven. So all the information that they need to know about your event out west, and then where they can find out more information about the cause.
So you can go to coltonscause.org, or you can go to our Facebook page, and everything will be on there. You sign up online for the concert. And this is one thing too, anyone that cannot pay, and we usually try to, the disabled families that come, they don't have to pay. They get a free ticket. So please come out and support us because we're doing great things. And there are so many families that need help. They really do.
And the event again is going to be at the Crafty
It's
Chameleon.
going to be at Crafty Chameleon on Friday, October 13th. It starts at 6 p.m. and it goes till 11 p.m. Trixie Delight will play from 8 to 11. So
I love it. And again, you've got a couple events, so you'll have another golf tournament coming up.
yes, that will be next year
year
in June at Tapawingo.
Okay.
And that was a huge success. And so,
Good.
yeah.
I want you to keep growing those. So we always end, ladies, with 100 Days to Freedom from these beautiful books from Stephen Arterburn that just kind of called my name out when I went to church one day. And I bought them all. They were pretty colors, first of all, but I knew they had a message. So shame, depression, anger, fear and anxiety. We're not going to do the overeating one. Which one speaks? We'll let her pick. Which one speaks to you?
Probably the fear and anxiety,
Yes,
fear of unknown, fear of what might happen, that kind of thing.
Okay, so fear and anxiety. We're going to wrap up the show with 100 Days to Freedom, and again, one more time, give you all the information that you need to know when we return. Hi, it's Monica Adams. Thank you so much for following along with The Real Monica Adams Show since we launched back in March. But I wanted to let you know there's so much more that I could do with you, your business, your corporation. Did you know that I'm a motivational speaker all around the world, as well as an MC and an auctioneer? So if you have an event, maybe a nonprofit organization, and you want to book me, just shoot me an email, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Personal training, life coaching, and styling as well. info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Welcome back. Again, we are wrapping up the Real Monica Adams Show, talking about families with special needs children and what you can do. We're talking about Colton's cause with Angie Kane and Sandy Smith, and remembering Colton and honoring Sarah and what you can do. We also always wrap up with 100 Days to Freedom, and this one's from fear and anxiety. And this is Fear Not. This is actually day 16 of 100 days. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail or abandon you. That is a powerful message. Think about this. When we are feeling overcome by a situation, our minds continue to race. We try to figure out how it will turn out or what should we do. Often we imagine ourselves alone and without resources, which can make us freeze instead of taking action to resolve the issue. Well, you're not alone. You're never alone. While you may not have a human ally who you can count on in a particular challenge, God will always be with you. We can know that the Lord will go before us and will not leave us. That fact alone can bring peace. We are made to be in relationship with God and people, and at times our fear and anxiety prevent us from making these life-giving connections. So you might feel a little disconnected from God and even doubt His presence even exists. You might feel disconnected and reconnect with God and begin to experience His presence again. Your relationship with God is based on His love for you and your acceptance of His truth. He's with you as you go through your life and in all the challenges you face. If you don't think that Angie and Sandy probably question faith, I mean, come on. Many people believe in God, yet they don't live in relationship with God. Through reading His Word, prayer, and connection with other believers, we can begin to experience the peace that can overcome our fear. Begin to experience the comfort of God's presence. Thomas Morton said, God, who is everywhere, never leaves us, yet He seems sometimes to be present, sometimes absent. If we do not know Him well, we do not realize that He may be more present to us when He's absent than when He's present. Think about that. Let me read that again. We do not realize that He may be more present to us when He's absent than when He's present. Think about that. Brother Lawrence says the most holy and necessary practice in our spiritual life is actually the presence of God. And Beth Moore says, faith is not believing in my own unshakable belief. Faith is believing in unshakable God when everything in me trembles and quakes. Today's prayer. Thank you, God, for your mighty presence. Help me to see you more clearly and help me trust you as I face the challenges of my life. Amen to that.
Amen.
Am I correct that there are times often that you challenge and in your mind question faith?
Not really at this point.
Good.
Yeah.
But easy to do.
Yeah, definitely easy to do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And it's okay, by the way. I don't want you ever to shame, because that's another one, right? Never shame yourself for questioning. You go through that tug of war. But I don't know. This is just my own belief, and I'm never pushing faith on anyone. But without faith, what do you have?
Exactly.
Right? There's my chill. So I think that says it all. Colton, thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Sarah, continue to spread some joy and keep the smile on your mama's face. coltonscause.org.
Yes.
Go to the Facebook page, Colton's Cause. Friday, October 13th. It's not going to be a bad Friday, October the not a bad Friday the 13th. It's going to be a great time at the Crafty Chameleon in Ellisville, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Trixie's Delight. A few items for, again, a silent auction, but really just community coming together.
Yes.
And bring the kids out. And if it's possible, bring the children with the special needs, because she's going to have a tent and she's taking care of all of them.
Yes.
Angie, Sandy, thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you
very much.
for having us.
And for all of you, again, this is how you give back. This is how you understand what you need to do to pay it forward, to spread kindness. We say it all the time. It's the way I end every show. In a world where you can go out and be anything, no matter if you have challenges against you, you can still provide hope and happiness to each other. And just in the end, please be kind. God bless you all. Thanks for watching.